Welcome to qnawire.
Hi, so over here we're asked what formula to use in order to prepare or to know how to prepare 100 milliliters of a 2% solution of copper sulfate. So in this case, I'm going to assume that the 2% refers to percent by mass, so percent mass over mass. And remember that the definition for this is going to be equal to grams of solute divided by grams of solution multiplied by 100. So in this case, what you would require to do is to add 2 grams of copper sulfate per each 100 grams of solution. In this case, if the density value is not given to you, you can assume that the density would be that of water, which would correspond to 1 gram per milliliter. In the case that the density is provided, let's say that you are given the value, then what would you need to do is to first of all calculate what mass corresponds to 100 milliliters. Remember that density is going to be equal to mass over volume. Therefore, the mass of the solution would be equal to the density times the volume. Now, with the value that you're going to get over here, of course, this would be directly density times 100 milliliters, since the density is normally given in grams per milliliter. In order to know the mass of the copper sulfate that you need to employ, what you're going to do is employ the concentration. So you're going to have the mass of the solution, and you're told that per each 100 grams of solution, you're going to require 2 grams of copper sulfate. Let me add again over here the clarification that if the density given to you is equal to 1 gram per milliliter, then this would be the way to do the calculation. And over here, the result would give you the mass required of copper sulfate. So, if density is provided, what you need to do is calculate the mass of the solution and use it to know how much copper sulfate you need to add. Let's do an example calculation. Let's say that the density provided to you was equal to 1.04 grams per milliliter. That means that the mass of the solution would be equal to 104 grams. And thus the mass of the copper sulfate would be equal to 104 grams multiplied by 2 grams of copper sulfate per 100 grams of solution, which would correspond to 2.08 grams. Recall, this is going to be just an example. This is not the actual value of the density for the solution. And with that, it would be all. Thank you very much and have a good one.